you very much.
Sorry, if I can have perhaps the next question is to come forward. Can I just say one thing? I'm really interested in this point about the payment of bursaries. And I mentioned, I've got my dad was a refugee from Ukraine, and I've got a cousin who's just qualified as a doctor, but his fees were paid by the state on condition that he then committed to working with the local health board. I think that's a really interesting idea that's come up. Sorry, I don't want to intervene. Please. Right, well, hang on. Next question, please.
Thanks, Mick. Tony Crutcher, I'm the Community Councillor for Llantrisant. I'm also the chairman of the Labour Party in Llantrisant. A couple of things I'd like to say. First of all, having worked as a board director for 20-odd years, you've got my empathy with the current management team. And I would like to say thank you for coming to work for us, because this isn't easy for you, and you are inheriting problems of other managers from the past. I understand that. I get it. A couple of things that I would just like to say, really, that stand out to me. First of all, the point that Cwmtaf has got 2 part-time people to step in. That is really good result, I think, in a short space of time. If this is a global problem, which I understand it is, good result. But 1 retired person going out and 2 coming in at 50% each, problem solved. You've been operating with 1 consultant up until now, so you can continue from this point on. Problem solved. The next thing I'd say is, if you've got 250,000 people and there's a direct correlation between numbers of consultants and people, if I had 1 consultant say, well, look, I know you're a cardiologist, but you've got an 80% workload. I need you 20% of the time in A&E. Okay? Well, these are things which are not coming out, Mick, right? And these are potential solutions. Yeah, and they're potential solutions. And so you've got these problems. Or you're trying to move the problem, and you're not going to solve it. And I just think you need to keep on the track that you're on and just keep recruiting in the hope we solve it. But where on earth the logic comes to think that you're going to solve it by taking it elsewhere, as a former board director, I just think that's grossly illogical.
Good evening. Pete Davis, ex-Tree Herbert, now living in Contpreath. I have nothing but admiration for the A&E staff at Royal Glam. Their efforts are fantastic. I say this with experience because I've been involved in the last 6 months with 3 or 4 cases that I've had to take to the A&E department because ambulances weren't available. I think you'll all agree with me. Everybody in this room has got our best interests as a whole at heart. I also think that poor old Nye Bevan must be doing somersaults in his grave at the moment. And I'll tell you why. Numbers. Merthyr, 65,000. Bridgend, 130,000. If my maths is right, that adds up to 195,000 people. And they're going to have 2 hospitals there. RCT, 250,000 people and no A&E for them day and night. How is that going to work? How is it going to work? I just put it to you, this whole thing is crazy right from the word go. How many people do you think it's going to take are going to lose their lives because of this action that you are proposing to cut all of the A&E services in the evening and other things as well? How many deaths is that going to take before the penny finally drops and somebody says, hang on, these are not second-rate citizens out here. They deserve the best, and that is what you should be getting.
Hi. I just wanted to, in the spirit of... Oh, sorry. No, it's fine. So basically, I was wondering, you know, you said you wanted our opinions and things to go forward. One of the key things I'm concerned about is, obviously, it's devastating with the A&E, with the amount of patients who might fall and break their leg or, God forbid, have a heart attack or whatever. But I just want you to remember, when you're adding up all these figures and everything, that 2 years ago I was also at that meeting regarding paediatrics and maternity, and that was soul destroying in itself, because I am a mother of 2 children, one severely disabled, can have up to 30 seizures a day. You know, I've got open access. But the one good thing I took to heart coming away from that meeting was that worst case scenario, their go-to line was always, you've got A&E. You've got A&E in your hospital. If you have a problem during labour, you don't need a consultant there. There will be either an ambulance to blue light you, which again raised issues about the ambulances, that again they didn't have stats on, but also that, you know, if my child, who majority of the time I take him in 2-3 a.m. in the morning because I can't stop him fitting, it's fine. There will be somebody in A&E who can deal with that. I cannot have a child fitting for 45 minutes, 50 minutes. He's already severely disabled, and I am terrified. I am quite a strong person. I'm usually the optimistic sunshine person, and I've dealt quite well with, okay, I've lost my paediatric support. I have now lost, I was pregnant at the time, so I was concerned about maternity because I was consultant-led. I might have more children. My husband may kill me, but it's things like that that concern me, and I just think that you need to take into account that we're not stats. There are people here. I speak for a lot of my friends who would never normally stand up and say these things, but my child is only 3. I've got a long time ahead of us. My next child, if I have one, may have the same genetic condition, and I just don't want anyone feeling the fear that I feel, that I haven't even got an ambulance or an A&E to back me up. I need somebody there, and I can't go to Merthyr. I can't.
Thank you. I'm Margaret Griffiths, Labour councillor for Pontyclun. My questions are 2 for Welsh Government and therefore to Mick, and I'd like you to actually take these back. It's been mentioned that a number of the new doctors, consultants are being employed part-time. The incentive that many doctors have had in hospitals is they've been able to work in the private sector. I hope that Welsh Government will actually change this to actually say that our doctors who have been trained here cannot work in the private sector at the same time as they work in the public sector. They owe it to us to work full-time. The second question, or second thing I'd like you to communicate to our health minister, is that the South Wales programme was a disaster in terms of maternity services, and that was implemented by the present board of this health board. Is it not time that the Welsh health minister actually said this board does need to be replaced, because they can't be trusted to actually implement the new services that are required in this area?
Hi, my name is Justine. I live in Talagarn. As a citizen of this community who's got elderly parents, 70, not too old, I've experienced Royal Glamorgan and Prince Charles A&E in the last 18 months. It wasn't a good experience, but A&E happens to be the point of crisis. I think you need to do a lot more in primary care, ambulance service, build capacity, and it's a bigger picture. It's a systemic failure. It's not individual chief exec at that time. And this is legacy things that you're inheriting today and having to act almost in crisis from what I've heard this evening by recruiting key consultants and key doctors to make the service safe. But it's been unsafe for a long time, and you can't change that overnight. And I accept that in the next 6 weeks you've got to demonstrate to external regulators that you've now got safe services. However, once you start closing things, they'll never reopen. And you've got to work with this community. I have never seen so much citizen engagement over such a hot topic, either over social media or here tonight. The Wellbeing and Future Generations Act, the Social Care and Health and Social Care agenda is all about integrated health social care services. People are turning up to A&E because those services don't exist in the community, and that's an expensive way to deliver health services because it's crisis management. And you made the point you can't recruit consultants and doctors. I know that the undergrad medicine students this year, not all of them were placed in F1s in Wales. Why is that? It's because the DOFs are not enabling the individual departments to actually put permanent recruitment posts out to advert. It's all locums, it's all bank staff, it's very, very expensive, and all the money is leaching out of the system by managing practices in that way. It's very expensive and it's not safe. And the board needs... There was a joint governance review undertaken by HIW and WAO recently. It was published in December. Some of the findings of that report linked back to A&E as well as the maternity services, and I just feel the decision that's gone public in the last week or two is in response to that. And what we don't want as a community is crisis, transactional responses to an external regulator saying this, and then the board demonstrating accountability just does what it thinks is expected. And I think we have to start working more collaboratively, more long-term, develop more preventive services, and start espousing, if you like, the tenets of the Wellbeing and Future Generations Act, because it's absolutely key. Everybody here, when they access A&E, are very vulnerable at their most vulnerable point in their life. And to be told, oh, well, we've closed it now from 8 until 8. So all that does is take the burden and responsibility off the Public Health Board. People will die, as citizens have said, so the consequences are massive. And do we want to live in a society in the 21st century? Well, that's the sort of welfare provision, welfare state we're offering. So I just want to make that point.
Listen, thank you.
Thanks very much. And there are a lot of very good points here.